Good evening, and welcome to Mindful Live 548. I believe we're on. Welcome, I'm Nathan Springer. Thank you for joining me. It is currently 10 o'clock in the beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the 28th day of the first month, January. In the Everlord 2026. Welcome. Once you're on the inside, hit two quick taps on the screen over there on TikTok. Get those likes flowing. It makes the algorithm to know that, hey, this is some good stuff. Send out the notifications to some more people. Wherever you're viewing this, if you're looking at it on YouTube, hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. If you're looking at it on Facebook, you can hit the like button on it also and drop a comment. Tell me what you think. On Instagram too, I do read the comments. We're talking news stories. We're talking in the news and the stories of the day. Today, the main story seems to be that the ZOSO did not pass. Hey, Ronnie. The ZOSO did not pass. No ZOSO. Not in favor. I know saying let me go sleep, Ronnie. You're getting old, Ronnie. You're getting old. You're going in early these days. What going on? What happened? You want to tell the people hi? Say hello, people. I miss Fitzy, boy. Really? You miss Fitzy of all people? That's who you miss. Of all people you could miss. Fitzy? Say hello. Say yo, people, what's up? Tell them laters, I'm going to bed. Say bye. I'm telling people bye. Bye. Ah, there you go. Naraya, N-E-R-I-H. Yeah. So, Alexander making Fitzy song brilliant. At the end of the day, Fitzy was unlikable. But Fitzy wasn't a fool, eh? I mean, you could call Fitzy many things, but generally speaking, you wouldn't call Fitzy a dance. People who don't like him may call him that, but it's not generally an objective insult that you throw at Fitzy. He might be annoying, he might be unlikable, you might find he overdone, he had to take all of that. But don't put him in the same basket. Don't do that. But yeah, ZOSO failed on account of the independent senators. Not in favor. ZOSO bill fails 8 independent, 6 opposition vote against. The law to give sweeping authority to the Prime Minister and National Security Council to designate communities as security zones and deploy expanded police and military powers has been defeated in the Senate. The law reforms zones of special operations, special security and community development 2026 bill, which required a 3/5 majority for passage, did not receive support from a single independent senator last night. The government needed at least 4 independent senators to support the legislation for its passage. However, when it came to a vote after 4 sittings of the upper house, the 15 government senators voted in favor, 14 voted against, inclusive of 8 of the 9 independent senators and 6 opposition senators, and there was 1 abstention, independent senator Courtney McNish. This means when the state of emergency expires on January 31st, the government will not be able to implement its ZOSO initiative, which it said was paramount to continuing the gains made against the criminal elements during the SOE. My question is, what are the gains made on the criminal elements during the SOE? What are the gains made? Fire Flame, I didn't say the man was bright. I said he was no fool. And you wouldn't put him there. And the use of big words doesn't make you bright, but the correct use of big words does suggest some amount of intelligence. And especially if you compare it with the incorrect use of small words. You understand what I mean? If a man could correctly use big words, even if you don't like him, that says something. While if you compare him to a man who cannot correctly use small words, the smallest of words, you know, is a struggle. During the committee stage of the bill where amendments are usually considered, Jeremy explained that there was no time to fully ventilate the almost 50 amendments proposed by both independent and opposition benches. We are maybe 72 hours away from the end of the state of emergency, and we wish to have something in place by then, Jeremy said. Independent Senator Anthony Vieira expressed disappointment with the government's position. When I listened to you and Minister Sturge initially, I was under the impression that government might have been open to taking amendments, Vieira said. However, Jeremy took the position that the amendments proposed by the independent senators were substantial and should not be dismissed quickly. However, again, he said that time did not permit any prolonged discourse. This, I find, is suspicious. I find this is suspicious. Why exactly, Ronnie? Why does it seem like they wanted this only if it was rushed and we aren't paying attention to everything in it with a fine-teeth comb? No, we don't want that. Just rush it through. Why? If you're saying that the independent senators have substantial amendments that may be good, then go through if it's really about fighting the crime. So what if it takes a week later to pass? What if the SOE lapse and we get the ZOSO a month after? If it's a better ZOSO, wouldn't that be better for everyone? Wouldn't it be better for everyone if the ZOSO, even if it's delayed, is improved to such a level that it actually works? I would think everyone would want something like that. Why does it seem like the government's intention was only to force it through? The only way they wanted this to go through was by force suddenly. They don't want to take their time. They don't want discussion. They don't want debate and challenges. Good night, Righteous Rebel over on Instagram. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it, and it makes my spidey sense tingle. When governments attempt to force things through like that, it makes your spidey sense tingle. Because you're wondering, is there a sting in the tail of this? Somewhere there's a little poison pill hidden inside of this whole thing, and when we agree with it and we let it go, then all of a sudden we're like, oh no, oops, we didn't know that was in there. That's the feeling you get, because you're not allowing things to be well ventilated. The suggestions of this bill, the suggestions from this bill and the news you hear around it makes it seem, at least, like there may have been a strong possibility for this bill to pass if the government was willing to do some compromise. And the thing about a Republican system, the thing about a republic, because we are the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the thing about a Republican system is it's supposed to be built on this. It's supposed to be built on the idea that one idea from one group doesn't just make its way into law for everyone just like that. The idea is that you have to compromise and discuss with varying groups from varying sectors of the society so that the laws that eventually make it out are as such that they aren't particularly biased in one direction or the other. That's the system it's meant to be. And the independent senators seem like they were willing. Boodoo warns ZOSO bill gives PM excessive powers. Temporary opposition Senator Sanjeev Boodoo has warned that Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar should not be granted sole authority to declare zones of special operations, citing her past statements on crime and what he described as a pattern of confrontational governance. Speaking during yesterday's Senate debate on the ZOSO bill, Boodoo argued that the legislation concentrates excessive power in the hands of the Prime Minister and poses a threat to constitutional rights. That is governance by big stick, Boodoo said, referring to what he described as the Prime Minister's buffs, directed at groups including the Law Association, the Energy Chamber, independent senators, and local government workers. I think they would want a sunset, especially how they're going to be skating out next election run, he says. Keys says, I'm hearing about independent senators asking favors in return for their vote. Well, that's what the Prime Minister says. PM, I'm not surprised bill was defeated. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar says she's not surprised the ZOSO bill was defeated in the Senate, adding drug mafias and gang members are now happy. Black Panther, you leave the big session. When I now came on Instagram there, I saw a big session was going on some other live there. Asked for a response following the adjournment, the Prime Minister said, I told you so. Asked if she was disappointed, she said, why would I be disappointed? She added, they have shown the entire country that I was entirely right about them. I am quite satisfied that they have proven me right. The people that are happy are the local drug mafia and gang members who stand to benefit from the votes of the 9 bootlickers. Blessings upon blessings, your effect. The PM said the independent senators have done irreparable damage to their bench. They have not an iota of credibility now in the eyes of the population. I don't think that's right, Mrs. Persad-Bissessar. I think if there were approval polls regularly carried out in Trinidad and Tobago, I think the approval rating of the independent senators would have gone up, not down. The only people that are really upset with the independent senators would be members of the government. And as I said, as the independent senators highlighted, they gave suggestions on how to make this bill work. After the bill's failure, UNC's Minister in Housing, Philip Alexander, told the Guardian media everyone on the sides opposite to us had an opportunity to put country first, and they failed. They showed the nation their true colors, and our ability to save lives was frustrated by their selfish, naked politics. Listen, this ZOSO bill, I think would have been exactly the kind of thing that Mr. Alexander would have argued against if he was not in governance, because he was always up and down the place about basically who is being treated better based on where they live. He was the man with the hurt feelings from the 1%ers, and a ZOSO bill doesn't affect the 1%ers. PM hits back. 2 independent senators asked for favors before ZOSO vote. Now the PM is accusing 2 independent senators of bribery. Now listen, you have to read and get what is said carefully. This is not necessarily an accusation of bribery. It is not necessarily an accusation of bribery. I would be interested to know, what is it that the senators asked for? PM alleges 2 independent senators sought favors for ZOSO support. Government refused. 2 independent senators approached a senior government senator for personal favors in order to vote for the ZOSO bill. Why is this side giving so much trouble? Because here's the thing. Favors to support a bill isn't something strange in Parliament, and it isn't necessarily something illegal. This is how Parliament works, or at least it's supposed to work. They both went to the same senator. Why? He known for giving favors, or I don't know. I believe that the police shooting and the timing affected the ZOSO bill, time and place. I do think that's true. The independent senators, listen, Mrs. Passabi-Sasa attempted to put political pressure on the independent senators to make it seem like if they didn't support this, then they're bootlickers and brown nosers and all those other things. But at the end of the day, after that police shooting, for the independent senators to then go and support that ZOSO, they would have looked like they folded to Mrs. Passabi-Sasa. The reality is, by insulting them, I think she made it harder for them to support the government. If she insulted them and they supported the government, now self people would have said they're cowards. And as I'm saying, I don't know what these senators asked if for this to be suggested as if it's a bad thing. What if they asked for support in bringing one of their pieces of legislation to the fore? What if that's it? What if they have a special legislation on disability that they want to be brought up, and they go to a senior government official to attempt to discuss this? Okay, you would like our support in this bill. I would like your support to bring forth this piece of legislation. Is there some way we can work together to get these both things done? That's how politics works. That's not necessarily that they were bribing or looking for a bribe or looking for an illegal favor. Nisi, that they could have very well been well within the bounds. And the fact that the Prime Minister didn't outright say that they were looking for a bribe makes me wonder. It makes me wonder. I think if they were out there looking for a plain bribe outright, I think she would have said so. That's my theory. I think she would have said so. I think she would have said they came asking for $50 million. But she didn't say that. They were asking for favors. What were the favors? That's not necessarily something wrong. Asking for favors as a bargaining in politics isn't necessarily something wrong. The problem is if the favors are selfish. If it's only favors for you in person, then things look a little strange. The police need to do their job without the protection of immunity of ZOSO, sting operations, etc. I'm in a bit of agreement there. It's what I've been saying so regularly about a lot of these things. If the police cannot do their jobs with the present laws, changing the laws aren't going to magically allow them to do it. That's not going to change a thing. Magical laws being passed aren't going to all of a sudden make the police good at enforcing the laws that are there. If the police couldn't enforce the laws that are there right now, adding more laws to the books doesn't make that problem go away. They weren't good at enforcing laws, they remain not good at enforcing laws. So I think, and I've said this many times, a lot of the fix in the crime situation in Trinidad starts at the police. I think we have more than enough police resources so that if we had a fully upfront, honest police service, the crime situation in Trinidad would have been handled. Now, although I say it starts with the police, I'm not laying all the blame exclusively at the police for the situation with the crime. I'm saying the fix starts there. Because every bit of crime and criminality and solving crime is supposed to flow from that organization. And how is that going to happen if the organization isn't functioning well? I saw the police welfare, social and welfare group came out and they were backing the commissioner in not suspending any of the officers. And as I said last night, what continues to bother me with this is the fact that some officer lied to the commissioner and he's very okay with it. He's very okay with it. Law Association. That criminal law applies equally to police. The Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago has expressed concern over statements made by the commissioner following the police shooting that killed the 31-year-old Joshua Samurai and hospitalized his common law wife, Kaya Seeley. The association released a statement today following Guevara's prior remarks that he had found no basis to suspend or place any of the officers involved in the shooting on administrative leave, adding that he had recommended counseling for them. The association said that Trinidad and Tobago's criminal laws equally apply to law enforcement and individuals. The use of deadly force may give rise to a defense of self-defense if such force is proportionate and justified, given the existing threat to personal safety. Self-defense is a complete defense to the offense of murder, it said. Citing Guevara's previous claim of an exchange of gunfire, it added, LAT has not seen footage of such an exchange, which could raise a defense of provocation, a partial defense to the offense of murder, which could reduce a conviction for murder to manslaughter. Self-defense, it said, is not available to any individual who engages in retaliation against someone arising from previous actions if the threat to personal safety no longer persists. And that is a point that needs to be made to the commissioner as he talks about the previous 12 minutes. The previous 12 minutes are inconsequential if we can establish the facts of the last 15 seconds. If we can establish the facts of the last 15 seconds that indeed he did surrender, and indeed the police, knowing he was attempting to surrender, killed him, it's inconsequential what he did in the previous 12 minutes. Even if he previously shot at police, if he's trying to surrender now and you kill him, it's murder. Even if he shot before. The previous 12 minutes are really inconsequential. But we see the police, social and welfare association is standing behind the commissioner to full backing, and you know that's the issue with the officers. That's the issue with the officers. I mean, if police are in a good place, the unity among police is the unity among a brotherhood of people looking to seek the best interests of the country, which is a fine thing. But when the police are corrupt and you have a unification among the corrupt entity that is dragging Trinidad and Tobago into further criminality, yikes. Yikes. But speaking about the police, social and welfare group, they're not supposed to protest. They're not supposed to, engage in any kind of activity like that. And they're similar in that light to tutor. But nonetheless, there has been some industrial action seeming. Some seeming industrial action from tutor. Silent teacher protest leaves parents scrambling. Low teacher turnout prompts early dismissals. Parents were yesterday forced to pick up their children before the end of the school day after low teacher turnout triggered early dismissals at a number of primary and secondary schools across the nation. It happened one day after the Ministry of Education announced Cabinet had approved revised terms and conditions of employment for the teaching service. But salary increases will not happen immediately, as the ministry said they will be given effect through the established administrative and financial processes of the state. A parent whose child attended secondary school in South Trinidad said the early dismissal yesterday was an inconvenience to working parents. Teachers didn't show Some of the teachers would have hinted to the students, but they didn't come out and say, stay home, she said. Before midday, because of the low teacher turnout, she picked up her child at school. Schools in central Trinidad reported that classes continued as normal. Former PTA president of the Palmese Government Primary School, Balmati Dalfas Ramdeo, said staff and student turnout at the school remained high. PTA president of the Presal Government Primary School, Sharon Ali, reported that the principal, vice principal, and over 75% of the teaching faculty were present on the compound. Asked about the absent teacher, she said she did not believe it has anything to do with the protest. Of course not. In a social media post yesterday, one parent said the students of the Warrenville TIA Primary School were met with a compound filled with unsupervised students. While we understand the teacher's plight regarding back pay and future earnings, we the parents did not expect or receive any notice of today's silent protest. We arrived at the school to drop off our children and were met with a compound filled with unsupervised students. Listen, the inconvenience is part of their bargaining strategy. The point is to inconvenience people. The point is so that people begin to recognize how necessary these people are because you're doing without them. And in hopes that if you can recognize how necessary these people are, you will give them what they're asking for. That's the idea. It's meant to be inconvenient. Only 1% of schools affected responding to the failure of teachers to go to school yesterday. The Ministry of Education insisted that only 1% of primary and secondary schools were dismissed early. There's a little play on the words there. Only 1% of schools dismissed early doesn't mean only 1% of schools were affected. At primary schools, it added that the Caroni and St. George East Education districts reported good student turnout, while the Victoria and Southeastern districts demonstrated positive levels of both teacher and student presence. They admitted that it had noted a recent variation in teacher attendance, which differs from the usual trend of approximately 91%. The collective agreement between the Chief Personnel Office and the Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association for the period 1st October 2020 to 30th September 2023 has been fully ratified, and all necessary implementation guidance has been issued by the relevant authorities. The agreement is now firmly in the implementation phase. As such, there is no indication that any withdrawal of labor is warranted at this time, the statement said. They're saying that teachers, your money book, you don't have to protest. All it need is the process for you to get the money that is already assured to you. But I could understand from the teacher's perspective. Okay, you say so, we want our money though. Where is the money? Where is the paper? Yeah, they getting the loan money just now. Huh. Teachers seek out. Tutor denies knowledge of action as wage dispute leads to protests disrupting school operations. Hundreds, we know that reports reaching, we know that many didn't have school. The TNT Unified Teachers Association denied organizing or supporting any protests. Its president, Crystal Bevinashi, said the association had received reports of low attendance by both teachers and students and immediately began investigating. Tutor had absolutely no part to play in the aforementioned development, as we have always maintained that we are and always will be a responsible association. You see, teachers are considered essential workers, so by law they're not supposed to be able to engage in industrial action. But I always found that to be ridiculous, because the whole idea of unions, what unions do, how unions function, how unions always functioned, big one. Say hi to the people.
Hi.
Say hello, people.
Hello.
What's up, folks? Yeah, how unions always functioned was that unions made bargaining based on their people power. That has always been how unions function. So you're telling unions you are not allowed. You are not allowed to engage in industrial action. What's that going to do? At the formation of unions, a lot of unions were in and of themselves illegal. At the formation of unions and unionized action was illegal, and yet still the unions formed. That is the story of the unions. So to tell unions that they engage in industrial action is illegal, that's just not going to work. Their power comes from the collective. They're going to use their collective power, which is what the teachers are doing. Tutor says they don't know anything about it, but what are you going to do about that? What you're going to do about that? Tutor says they don't know. They say that the teachers took it upon themselves. The stress of working under old wages made the teachers stay home all on their own. Nobody inveigled them to do that. We are a responsible union. We don't do such things, of course. But nonetheless, the teachers are staying home. And here's the thing, I think teachers are one of those jobs. Yes, they are essential. And that's why they are one of those jobs that if they decide to do some bargaining by withholding their labor, I think things are going to start to move around quickly. I think things are going to start to move around quickly if teachers continue doing such things. Because, you see, more than educating the children, it's babysitting children while parents are on work. That's one of the most key roles of teachers. Babysitting children in order for parents to work full work days. And if that babysitting service starts to collapse, working parents are in trouble. It's a babysitting service, and everyone needs it. Let's jump in another story. Culture Minister, Port of Spain Mayor clash over wrecking at Flavor Village. Complaints from Flavor Village patrons whose vehicles were parked nearby and later wrecked have sparked a back and forth between Port of Spain Mayor Chinua Alain and Culture and Community Development Minister Michelle Benjamin. The minister believes the wrecking is politically motivated. Now, politics has a way of wearing its rearing its dirty head, not only in the rubbish in the city, but also with regards to the wrecking, Benjamin said. Meanwhile, Alain, speaking at the PNM's 70th anniversary at Queen's Hall on Monday, made it clear that the police are responsible for enforcing the law in the city. No, there is no need for my office to instruct police to enforce the law, he said. During an interview with Guardian, Benjamin said Flavor Village at the Queen's Park Savannah was her way of addressing complaints she received when she became minister less than a year ago. I think this is again persons trying to be, and I would say, wicked with regards to the carnival product. And that would be cured as I'm in the business of healing these hurts that the public is feeling, she said. Benjamin said she would reach out to the mayor on this issue because we both know where the wrecking service comes from, she stated. Tell the people laters you're going to bed. Tell them laters.
Laters.
Bye.
Bye.
Off to bed. Good night. It's the municipal police working with the wreckers. But I have no doubt that the mayor has a lot of say in it. The way you know that is there are occasions where from the mayor's office you hear announcements coming out that wrecking wouldn't occur on specific days. wrecking wouldn't occur on this day, wrecking wouldn't occur on this day, we have a pause in wrecking for X reason. How could such announcements come from the mayor if he has no control of that? I don't buy what the Port of Spain mayor is saying there. I don't buy it. That we don't need, there's no need for my office to instruct police to enforce the law. I've made this point numerous times. Here's the thing. The job of police is not law enforcement. I know people say police are law enforcement, but that's not the job of police. The job of police is to follow orders. On a morning when or whenever the police starts his shift, he goes in and signs in and starts his shift. He does not pick up his little pocket constitution and read up on the laws of Trinidad and Tobago and hit the roads looking to see who's breaking those laws. No. He gets instructions from his seniors and follows those instructions. So to come out and say that no one has to tell the police to enforce the laws as if the police are on autopilot in law enforcement is being dishonest. The police are pointed in directions. I am 100% certain there's a senior politician somewhere that could stop the wreckings if they wanted to. Just as there are senior politicians that increase the frequency of road exercises. I thought the police do that on their own as law enforcement. No, it's political. And some political senior has the ability to point them in the direction that they want to. But it would be interesting to see the government and the local corporations, the city corporation, have it out over this wrecking service business. That would be very interesting, I think. Ghana to erect monument on African solidarity in Jamaica. Kingston, Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa says the African country will sponsor the erection of a monument at the Seville Heritage Park in St. Anne to commemorate African solidarity and shared history with Jamaica. Ablakwa said the officials from Ghana's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Defense will collaborate with local authorities in Jamaica to advance the monument project. Africa making strides outside of Africa, boy. Building monuments. Personally, I would rather them do like the Chinese and build some ports. I think my personal opinion is a lot of the African diaspora and genetic groups are very preoccupied on past. And I'm interested to see what the monument is going to be depicting. I hope it's nothing to do with slavery or anything from the past. Can't afford the port as yet. Well, something really useful. Make the investments worthwhile. I'm interested to see exactly what the monument would look like. That would be very interesting. He commended Jamaica's efforts to honor African ancestors, particularly the repatriation and dignified burial of an enslaved African woman whose remains were returned to Ghana. You brought back one of our own and made sure she returned and has been buried, the minister said. You know, the irony of that, Jamaica returning an enslaved woman's body to Ghana and they bury her there. Next thing, you return her to a location in Ghana that was the location of her enemy tribe, the people who captured her and sold her into slavery. So you returned the enslaved woman to the people who originally took her into slavery. Imagine if that's the case. History is a weird thing, eh? History is a weird thing. That could be very possible. If you believe in that more spiritual reality around the natural world, she bounced back up her enslavers. She touched the soil, and when her ghost open up its third eye. When the ghost open up its third eye, it's like, you. History, man, history. The US is unfreezing Venezuela sanctioned funds. The United States has started unblocking Venezuelan funds that were frozen due to sanctions, the South American country's interim president said on Tuesday. We are unfreezing resources from Venezuela that belong to the Venezuelan people. Delcy Rodriguez, acting as president instead of toppled leader Nicolas Maduro, said on state TV. This will allow us to invest significant resources in equipment for hospitals, equipment we are acquiring in the United States and in other countries. She did not specify the amount. The US said, well, we will allow you to spend your money, but you have to spend it here. Well, but yes, Ronnie, if things look up in Venezuela, then some of our migrants over here, I think they would go back. And I actually do think they would go back, you know. I actually do believe that if Venezuela's situation looks up, that a significant portion of the migrants in Trinidad and Tobago will go back. Like, speaking to some of the Venezuelans, I think they like their country. Some of them love here more than we do. Yes, some of them do, but I think a large number of them really like their country. They do. Some already gone. Yeah, some are already going back. A little uncertainty here and they're already back. And bear in mind, many of them have family over there. Their entire extended family is over there. They're here because of desperation. They would like to go back. I think many of them would. And that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. So, free up the money, free up the oil. Let Venezuelans go home. They fed up fake love, Ronnie says. Wow, Ronnie. What you trying? Ronnie. Fake, no, Ronnie, don't do the people that. Maybe they are very serious about having affection for local men. Maybe. Some of them came and indeed fell head over heels over the guy that no other Trini woman wanted, all the way till he was 35 and he was single his whole life, and suddenly a Venezuelan woman sees him and loves him. That might be the truth. Maybe she saw something in him that no other Trini woman could. What's wrong with that? Love is love. Let the people find love. In a sense, I'm happy for some of those men too. So they say in a language they don't understand. The Vietnamese found warmth in the Venice. Listen, some of those men, I'm happy for some of those men. Some of those men had a hard going amongst all the Trini girl. Trini women were giving them a hard time coasting on the men. And some of these men were well employed, able to keep a family. And, well, Senorita came across, Maribel came across, and now Maribel has 3 children with Ravi. Ravi and Maribel are happily married with their 3 children. And Ravi, who grew up in the colorism of old world Indian colorism. There's colorism in all kind of different racial groups. Ravi grew up in that, and he was a dark-skinned guy, but Maribel didn't mind, And he has 3 light-skinned children now with Maribel. He is on top the moon. You could tell him about Maribel, don't really like him. You could tell Ravi that. Ravi is happy. Leave Ravi be. I have no qualms with Ravi, especially if they're doing the thing right. Man married, settled down, he learning his little Spanish, you know. Maribel speaking Trini English. She not speaking standard English, it's Trini English she's speaking. Love story for the ages. Love story for the ages, man. I happy for you, Ravi. I happy for you. May long life and happiness find you. Big up yourself. And there are many of those out there. And I happy for brother man. Everybody wants some love. And he found his love. More power to him. Once you know it's not one of those situations where the lady has a husband already that she calling her brother and he comes over, because there's that bacchanal too, but we hoping it's not one of those. Know how much Chinese grocery security found Spanish love? Hey. Chinese grocery is a mixing melting pot, you know. It's a mixing melting pot. I happy to hopefully she and go back to yes, zero effect. Yes. But granted, I am in Central, so I'm speaking from where most of my examples come from. But indeed, there are some Matthews and Ricardos and Davids and such who, you know, have their own Maribels too. No doubt. I'm happy for all of you all, man. Make your thing happy. And the Chinese groceries are just so interesting. I like going in some of these Chinese groceries sometimes. A Chinese national, a Venezuelan, and the Trini security guard, and they're all communicating in broken Trinidad English. The Chinese man is speaking to his Venezuelan staff in broken Trini English. That's their common language, not standard English. Broken Trini English. It's a riot. Really and truly. I like it to some extent. I like it once it's within reason, and you know, we still want control of our country and all of that. Like, come on now. But yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, folks, that's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. This has been the Mindful Live. I am Nathan Springer. Thank you guys for joining me. I'll be here again tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. Thursday we talk. So if you want to discuss something, if you want to argue with me, if you want to debate something, jump in tomorrow and we'd have the panel open for such a discussion and Thursday talks. Yes, Shazam, we have to ask there. But yeah, that's what we do tomorrow. Make sure and tune in if you're interested in that. Fatherhood tip of the day. Calm. Not just so runny because he said I make it look easier. Yes, you weren't following the conversation. He told you something easier. Bedtime's required. I realize you're not sending them to bed afternoons. No. Well, it's a different time, and mine are homeschooled. So part of the reason some of the things of older parenting was in a certain way was because of the schedule of formal schooling. And the purpose of the schedule of formal schooling was to train children into the industrial worker, factory worker mode and model. So you don't necessarily have to go to that. But sleep is extremely important. The reality with sleep is, I guess, a tip for all areas of parenting, including fatherhood. It's hard to get children to do something that you don't do. So, my children generally stay up a little later than even I would like because I'm up late. That's just the reality. The reason they're up late is because I'm up late. if I, like in the period of time where I wasn't doing lives daily and stuff, if I go to bed early, they would go to bed early. That's just the reality of it. So that's a tip for parenting altogether. It's hard to get children to do something that you don't do. So like even in eating, if I'm eating everything, they would eat everything. But if you are a picky eater, it's hard to get your children to not be a picky eater. They pick up on everything. They're following what you're doing way more than what you're saying. They just want to spend time with. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I always say I'm sure I'm making daddy's girls, and I have no problem with that. What time is your live tomorrow? Around that 9:30 p.m. time. Between 9 and 9:30, we're looking to start. Yeah. I like making daddy's girls though. That's fun. It's fun. I love my children. I love my daughters. It's a wonderful experience. Wouldn't exchange it for the world. 100 out of 100 will recommend. Go make the babies, people. You like it. It fulfills a part of you that I think would not be fulfilled otherwise. It's an entire part of being a human that I think you would miss if you didn't do it. All right, people. Laters. I'm out. Hold it down. Stay good. Stay well. Stay inside, outside. Sketchy. Peace.